Hard times ahead. President Trump tells Americans to brace themselves as the country's death toll surpasses that of China.
This is going to be a very painful, very painful 2 weeks.
The British government admits that it has to do more to facilitate testing for Covid-19, with only a fraction of its daily target currently being met. When even a handshake makes news, why Russia's president finds himself at the centre of coronavirus concerns. Saving lives or an invasion of privacy? We look at the surveillance tools being used to track potential cases of the virus. In Russia, the number of coronavirus cases has jumped by 500 in 24 hours. That's according to official government figures. The Russian parliament approved a series of laws aimed to slow the spread of the outbreak, including jail terms for breaking quarantine rules. And as Steve Rosenberg reports, there are fears that President Putin himself may have been exposed to the virus.
It began with a handshake. Vladimir Putin meeting Dr. Denis Protsenko 1 week ago to inspect the main hospital in Russia for coronavirus patients. Now, the doctor himself has tested positive for COVID-19. He and the president spent the whole afternoon together in close contact. No one's safe was the headline on Russian TV tonight. But conspiracy theories cannot mask the reality that to fight a virus, the world's largest country is shutting down. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.
Turning to Europe now, where Germany's chief health advisor has warned that the rate of deaths from coronavirus in that country is rising. But so many people have been tested there that the authorities might be ready for the surge in cases. Germany can carry out 500,000 tests a week, as our Berlin correspondent Jenny Hill reports.
They're working day and night in Germany's laboratories. This country tested early and it tested a lot, an approach which, it's believed, has saved lives.
Officials across India are searching for hundreds of people who attended a religious event that's been linked to dozens of coronavirus cases. At least 6 regions have reported infections directly traced to the gathering, which is at a mosque. Delhi officials are now clearing the building where more than 1,000 people were stranded since the government imposed a lockdown last week. Yogita Limai has more.
People at a religious gathering in Delhi being evacuated and sent to isolation centres. Dozens who attended have tested positive for coronavirus, and some have died. The congregation of worshippers from different countries was held before India's shutdown was ordered. But for days after, a large number of people remained at the mosque. Many are now showing symptoms of the disease. India is grappling with the spread of corona. But there's also anger about its treatment of its poor. A group of people was sprayed with chemicals in what appears to have been an attempt to sanitize them as they tried to return to their villages from the cities they lived in. An investigation has now been launched into this incident. Hundreds of thousands of daily wage earners have been left without money, food and shelter across Indian cities.
El Salvador has registered its very first death from the coronavirus. The news came via the country's president, Nayib Bukele, who made the announcement on social media. Hundreds of people formed long queues this week to try and get a government grant during the pandemic. Brazil will extend its border closure with Venezuela for health reasons, but it has ruled out closing the border to citizens returning from abroad amid the coronavirus pandemic. The country's Justice Minister, Sergio Moro, also said he will be looking at what the country's security forces can do in the fight against the virus. Well, moving to Japan now, where Tokyo is considering keeping city-operated schools closed until early May. That's according to the public broadcaster NHK and other local media. It comes after the Japanese capital recorded 78 new cases of the virus on Tuesday, its highest tally in a single day. There are more than 2,000 cases in the country in total. Meanwhile, in Australia, a pop-up coronavirus testing clinic is to be opened up next to Sydney's Bondi Beach. It comes as health workers try to contain clusters of infections across the country, which is in lockdown. In March, thousands of people ignored social distancing rules by visiting the famous beach. Now, this week we've seen companies from around the world lend their expertise to the fight against the virus. General Motors is making ventilators, while engineers for the Mercedes Formula One racing team are producing a breathing aid. So many businesses are changing gears to do what they can, as Ali Maqbool now explains.
Right across the globe, with so much work grinding to a halt, people are doing what they can to adapt. Many, like illusionist Joe Coover, are also trying to help their community fight the virus.
And finally, the Empire State Building has been lit up with a siren of red and white to pay respects to the emergency workers on the front line of the fight against the virus. The tribute has unnerved some in this anxious city, but others see it as a fitting accolade to those who are risking their lives.